It's been a while. While I was doing the irreversible damage series, I was like, I want to take a break right now. But now that it's over, I'm like, okay, now I can actually have a break. I've been a little bit under the weather. Personal stuff has gotten in the way a little bit, and it's kind of just demotivated me for a while. That was part of it, and I think another part of it is I think it might be the weather. The weather's like getting to me a little bit. I have reached 600 plus subscribers, and the traction's got a little quick, so it might even be 700 by the time this comes out. I have no idea, but I'd like to thank Abigail herself for bringing my irreversible damage series to other people's attention, and so now they're flooding in, and I'm like, ah, it's just a lot. So anyway, I'm thankful for that. It kind of adds to the pressure a little bit, but hopefully I'll be able to handle it. So thank you for 600 plus subscribers. Uh, I hope you enjoy your stay. Today I'm going to be talking about how internalized misogyny led me to believe that I was transgender or transsexual. And, uh, before starting this channel and whatnot, I had a lot of tension with the whole concept of internalized misogyny and internalized anything, really, because I didn't believe it. It was presented to me as if it was silly and kind of ridiculous. And it was like associated with people who kind of went extreme with their views. So I was like, I don't like, if I subscribe to that whole concept of, in this case, internalized misogyny, then I'm gonna have to like take on some of their extreme views, which I don't like. But I've now come to terms that just because it's called internalized misogyny, that does not necessarily mean that it's like inherently bad or crazy or whatever. I've come to realize that it's something uh, that I have had for a very long time, and I'm still, unfortunately, trying to get over it. Like, I wish I was fully over it, but so I guess first of all, I should explain to those who don't know what internalized misogyny is. Internalized misogyny is like misogyny, I'm sure many of you know, or maybe you don't, I don't know, is, the outward expression of, like, not just disrespect, but also, like, kind of hatred, dis disliking, just all those negative feelings geared toward women. Whereas internalized misogyny is taking what, like, a misogynist would say and then, pointing it towards yourself, like, oh, I am worthless because I'm a woman. I realized that this is what I had. Well, not just the irreversible damage series, but also just in general as I've been going through this channel and like talking to people and like really hearing what they have to say on the matter. I got to more exploring with, like, I've been, getting together with my mom on a pretty regular basis, and we'll just like talk about this stuff. She'll tell me stuff about what's happened in the past, put the trans stuff in there as well. And then I started piecing it together, and I was like, oh, wow, so this is what I've been doing. Like, not only did I have self-hatred because of my parents' divorce, and oh gosh, it's kind of complicated. Like, just like the divorce and just feeling kind of unwanted, I guess, in a way that made me really dislike myself totally. So I got a few points that I have recalled over the past couple months, And I'm not going to get totally into them because number one, I don't fully remember all of it. Probably because I've just moved on. So it's just like whatever. Another part of it is like I've forgiven a lot of what happened. So it's also another thing that I've just kind of let go and I don't really think about it much anymore. Third thing is it's private. It's kind of private. I want to first start with my, not just my relationship with my dad, but like what my dad has done like outside of my childhood awareness. So I want to start out by saying I can't say like, oh yeah, my dad was a misogynist. Like I can't say that necessarily. Um, I would say, if anything, I mean, it's not like a diagnosis, but I just don't like accusing someone of something they might not be doing. At least he's had some at least in my perception, misogynistic sort of tendencies, and that's been very harmful for not just me, but also my mom and other women around their, their environment and whatnot. Like one of the main like points of tension with being maybe misogynistic, I guess, would be like I like he wasn't necessarily somebody who wanted to have children, but he's kind of like jelly spined, so he wasn't gonna say, "Oh no, my mom. Oh no, you. I don't want kids. I'm not ready for them." Like he didn't say that. He was just like, "Well, okay. Well, you said that you wanted it, so I'm gonna go with it." And so that's what he went with, and because he didn't want kids, he kind of it like really, reflected in his behavior and how he like kind of not necessarily treated the, us kids, but how he treated my mom at that time. So he was basically, as you would imagine, somebody who doesn't really want to be a parent. They're like, as my mom has described it as, he would basically treat the kid situation, his own kids, as if he was a grandparent instead, which is usually a grandparent. For those you don't know, a grandparent would just be like, well, it's not really my kid, but I'm gonna like take care of this kid in the fun way, as opposed to the real work kind of way. And because of that, like we kids were like, woohoo, I'm gonna choose him. Kinda, in a way we did. I mean, it wasn't a full like, oh, we're gonna leave mom in the dust sort of thing. Fuck you, mom. Like we weren't, we weren't like that. It was more like in preference of, like, oh, we're kids. We want to have fun, and we don't really want to be working on certain responsibilities. I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than that. In any case, we just kind of favored him a little bit more. And because of that, my mom was like, she was about responsibility and she was demanding. She wanted me to do chores, you be responsible. That's what she was going for. So she was trying to implement some kind of structure to me as a kid. And it makes sense. That's what a parent should do, right? And so my dad wasn't doing that. Do you get what I kind of mean? Like a kid wants to have fun. They don't want to have restrictions, even though they secretly do. One of the things that my dad would do would be like playing in his room, and there's nothing to like muffle the sound, whatever. My mom would be like, oh, can you, but like various levels of politeness, she would come up to him and be like, oh, can you turn that down? I think she would even demand it at one point. But, at first she would be like very polite, oh, could you turn it down? And then she would leave, and then he would either still be playing just at the volume that he was, or he would get a little bit louder and just completely disrespect what her request. As I was saying, with my dad not wanting to really be a parent, he would, shove all the responsibilities of what a dad should have and like just dump it all on my mom. The more that responsibility was kind of forced onto him, I remember he would become just like more bitter, less patient, and kind of just unwilling to do what a dad needs to do. Two of the things that I can remember is that when I had like a school project of some kind or like homework, whatever it is, a school thing, and I was working on it, and I would be like, "Oh, I'm stumped. Can you help me, Dad?" And then he would be like, "Yes," even though like probably he wants to say, "Absolutely not. I don't want to help you," but he's like, "Well, yes, I will help you." And and then I just remember this one time it might have been like it was a writing project of some kind. I think it was for English class. I was mentally exhausted and I couldn't do it anymore. And I was just so like, I need to eat food. I need to take a break. That's what I needed as a kid at the time. And so I was having this huge brain fart, and I was just like, please just tell me what to write. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what this is. Who am I? Just oh, I was huge brain fart, and he was trying to help me, right? And he's just like expecting me to just be like, "Oh, I know exactly what I'm doing now. Thanks, Pa. I can type the rest of this thing up." And no, I wasn't like that. So he got really frustrated that I just couldn't understand what this project was and what I should, originally write in this essay or whatever it was. And he just, I, I don't remember anything specific or anything, but he just gave up. He was just like, I can't. No, you're not getting it. I don't know what he said, but he was really frustrated. I don't and he gets up and like he leaves. When I was a little bit younger, I don't remember how young I was. I had not a speech impediment, but like dyslexia, mild dyslexia, and I had to have this workbook on how to like pronounce things and write them and whatnot. And I just remember like working on this all workbook, and it was like I'm supposed to like repeat stuff that's in the book. I don't know. And I remember this one thing that I remember very specifically actually. It was just like repeat this word, and it was lips. And I was like this little girl in like grade school, and I was like, I can't say it. That's like a it's like the equivalent of saying a vagina at the time. Like, you can't say private parts. Those are intimate. So that's what I considered lips to be. And I was like, oh no, I can't say it. Especially not in front of my dad. It's like, maybe if it was with my mom, I probably would have said it. But with my dad, I was like, oh no, I can't. No. And I also remember my dad getting frustrated with this because he's just like, it's such an easy word. Just say it. I was just like, no, I don't know. I just don't know what it says. I don't know what I was doing, but he got frustrated with that too. Despite his shortcomings, though, I still like greatly admired him. I was still a daddy's girl no matter what. In my subconscious, it had already solidified as, well, I see men as good and relaxed and chill and easy to be around, especially even though I didn't have like this perfect relationship with my brothers either, and a lot of the time they would just be like, I don't want to hang out with you, you're a girl, that sort of thing. Like, I was still like, looking up to them, being like, oh, I want to be just like you. And all that admiration, regardless of their horrible behavior, I was still just like, oh, wow. And that sort of thing fuels into the whole, oh, I should be a guy instead. So moving on, the older that I got, uh, my dad went from like, the lackadaisical, happy-go-lucky, kind of easy to be around dad who sometimes got irritable with some of like, some of the restrictions that I had as a kid to even more just distancing himself. Like, what really happened was uh, he meets this one woman. Like, he had been dating other women before her, and that was fine. But this woman in particular, who he's now married to, uh, she has a lot of problems. She would be saying along the lines of, I don't want you to be visiting with other women. I don't want you to see your ex-wife. basically, I don't even want you to see your own kids. And it seemed like especially your daughter. So, and that really just ripped the family apart. One thing that I remember that like really like hurt me, uh, and I don't necessarily know. I think it was both of them at the same time that really like so hurt me. And so like my mom gives me like this job, uh, job reference, whatever it is. I needed, a car to get there, but I didn't have a license and I didn't have a car anyway. Uh, so I asked my dad, "Oh, can you pick me up and bring me to this interview?" And he was texting me like, I don't remember fully what he said, but it was basically just like, "Oh no, stop trying to use me as a free taxi. I don't like it when you do that." It was something along those lines, and that just really crushed me because it's just like he. I don't know if it was really him, but he said other things that was just like, whoa, that's not who I remember. This is not the man who raised me. This is not you. I blamed this new woman more than I blamed my dad at the time. That added into the whole like misogyny, misogyny thing. It was just like, oh well, this woman is ruining my life, and not like as if my dad didn't play a part in it. So, anyway, so moving on from him, I don't have a huge amount of stuff to say about my mom because as I said previously, it's all been forgiven. It doesn't really matter anymore, and because of that, now I just don't really remember exactly what went on. So I'm gonna be a little bit more brief here. We had a lot of tension between each other. And I believe I've also said it's because she was emotionally constipated. And I learned from her emotional constipation that I should not express my emotions as well. And when both people are now emotionally constipated, nothing can happen. No boundaries can be made. Nothing can be expressed. It's just like this huge, nasty, disgusting stalemate, and that's what it was for quite a long time. She had always been somebody who is very like tomboyish. She grew up very tomboyish, climbing trees, playing in mud, the works. And it's still in her behavior, that more, I guess, androgynous sort of behavior, I guess. And she also raised us gender neutrally, and I think because of that, like the tomboyishness, uh, and the gender neutral thing. Like, why would uh, the celebration of being a girl ever cross her mind? And I'm saying this because it goes along with like that last chapter of Irreversible Damage, where she was going off into advice and stuff, like stop pathologizing girlhood and whatnot. So, and tell girls that it's great to be a girl. So I never got that, and it was always just, oh, well, men just seem to be better. She was assertive in some ways, but she was non-assertive in others, the sort that Irreversible Damage would speak of. A lot of it had to do with, I guess, projection, where, like, you know, she saw a lot of me in her and she wanted to heal that, but she couldn't, she didn't have the equipment to do it. And because of that, wanting to help so badly and avoid the struggles that she went through as a kid, uh, and what kind of mom that she wanted, sort of. Like, I wouldn't describe it at all as a helicopter parent, but more as just like someone who's just, I'm gonna help you where you really don't need help as a kid. And, a kid has to struggle in order to become, grow more mature and understanding of life. And she wouldn't give me that. She wanted to just, help me and not. struggle like she struggled and had the fears that she had. And it sounds noble, but it's not healthy for a kid. So, that and and that's what irreversible damage was pretty much talking about too. Like that's what these parents are doing. They're not necessarily helicopter parents. They're just like, I want to help you so much, and I want you to avoid the things that I went through as a kid. So I'm gonna help you. And then that kind of accidentally sets that kid up for failure, and they're gonna try and search for something that they can do on their own and rebel against, and then figure out what they what they need to do in order to get that maturity and independence that they need. Because she wasn't assertive in certain places where a mom really needed to be assertive. It felt like as I was growing up, there wasn't enough like boundaries. It just kind of felt like I could pretty much do anything and reach out and do whatever. And that's not good for a kid. They need boundaries and limitations. Even if they get frustrated with it, they need them. So they know where that wall is and to, stop. So that kind of thing where like I'm a kid and I am able to have all these too many freedoms, and then uh it's taken for granted, I guess, and then the kid, uh if they ever do meet with some kind of resistance from their parent, then they'll very likely, they usually do, start manipulating that parent who is evidently kind of not assertive. And that's one of the things I did. And then with that, resentment, like, oh, well, you've allowed me to do this, and now you want me to not do that, or you want me to do this thing that I don't want to do. Like, now I resent you. That's kind of a cyclical theme. That's a theme that was going on. How that applies to the transgenders or transsexual thing, as it says in the book, is that it was finally in my area to blossom into my own independent person, and like finally there's some like actual resistance here. Here's some kind of boundary that I get to, you know, shove up against and push because of her behaviors collectively. Um, and because of that resentment that I spoke of, like I wanted to separate myself from her. Again, as it said in the book, it was like, uh, I think the quote was something like, I'm not like my mom. I'm not even female," or something like that. And that's basically what I was going after too. It's just like, I don't want to be anything like you because of the way that you've treated me emotionally and neglected me in some places that were really important as a kid. Oh, I don't like you, so I'm gonna try to completely disengage from girlhood and eventually, womanhood as well. And it added with the whole daddy's girl thing. Oh, I like the presence of men better. Of course, I would want to be trans, a trans man. I had issues with other girls in school, and I'm also going to try and be brief on this as well. Uh, I had like this more pivotal thing. I believe I've mentioned her like very, very briefly, and very vaguely, but I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit more now. So, because of the divorce my parents went through, and I was like 6 years old or something, so I was going into grade school, and I was going through quite a tumultuous time, and so and my parents were a little bit weird, so all that added up to me being a very weird kid in school. Because of that, a lot of people avoided me, and I didn't make friends very well. You know, I was also just generally socially weird, and I just so because I had a tough time making friends. The ones that I did have, I kind of just like stuck my claws into. There was this one friend in particular. Like we had our mutual friends too, but she was like the main. She was like the main thing, the pillar, I guess. We're gonna call her Ree, and we. I don't know when we became friends, but uh, the chunk of our friendship was in grade school, and then it ended in middle school. We had a very on and off relationship, and like in the beginning, I didn't want her to be my friend, and she was clingy toward me, and then eventually, uh, I turned around and I was like, "Oh no, I want to be your friend. Please be friends with me." And then she was like, "Oh gosh, no, stay away from me," sort of thing. This memory's a little bit embarrassing because it leads up to something that I don't know if they're actually totally related, but it's the only thing I can think of. And I mean, we were little kids, so what? What? I don't know. It's kind of hard. So anyway, as I said, we had mutual friends, and I remember one time, I think it was her birthday, or she just was having a sleepover. I just remember being at this girl's house, and uh, whatever we were doing, I decided to completely strip down naked and wear a blanket as a cape and then just like run around. That's what I kind of remember doing that, just running around the room with a cape on, kind of. And I don't know what happened after or what, but I think our mutual friend was like, that was weird or whatever. And then she tells Ree this, and Ree's like, what the hell? In kid language, what is going on with this girl? Like, what? She's so weird. And so I think that event led up to this one where I remember we were in school, and it was me, Ree, and another girl who coincidentally had the same name. I'll get to her later. um, we were like, I don't know, I guess we were like all drawing or just like playing with toys, but it was like break time, I guess, for the class, and I started drawing something, some anime girl of some sort. I really struggled drawing hands. Normally, I would put them like behind the girl's torso, but this time I was like, I want a hand to be out. So I was like, here, hey, Ree, can you draw a hand for me? And she's like, oh, sure. She grabs the paper and she starts scribbling. I can't see. And then she hands it back to me. And then it's just like, I forgot to grab pen and paper, but basically, I hope you can follow along. It was like an upside down U shape and then a little line at the top. And I don't remember what she said, but my memory says that she said, I guess allegedly, oh, it's a vagina. And so when I think back on that, I'm like, okay, so she was making fun of me for maybe seeming, I think she was just trying to make fun of me. And that really hurt. I remember that really hurting me. And then another instance later on, or before that, when this other girl, uh, who coincidentally has the same name, spelled differently, but same name as Ree, and she came in. I don't know why. I was a kid. I have no idea why anything happens. So she comes in. She's a new student, and I remember, or at least I think I remember, I went up to her. We became friends, and I really enjoyed that I had like just this one exclusive friend. And then I remember somehow or other, whatever happened, Ree comes up and she basically just snatches this other Ree from my friendship. And I remember she converted this girl to not like me. I don't know what she said to her, but she became really cold to me after that. and she just would exclusively hang out with Ree instead. And that just really crushed my little girl soul at the time. And it frustrated me so much. And then they would behave in a certain way. I don't remember exactly, but they would just kind of behave as if, like, oh, Willow's the weird girl. Like, let's not include her in our activities, that sort of thing. And that bugged me so much. And I just remember trying to, like, call them out on their behavior. And uh, I remember saying things like, oh, you're looking at me like that, and like it indicates this. I don't know. I was like trying to pull all these like psychology things that I didn't have any idea what psychology was, but I was like trying to pull them out. And then both of them are like, oh my God, she's so weird. Isn't she so weird? Like, what is she even talking about? And their reaction, it was silence, mostly, I think. And it was just, like, that crushed me too. They didn't want to, like, empathize with me at all. They just wanted to get rid of me. That's what it felt like. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Did I deserve it? I have no idea. Instances with other girls as well. This other instance, I believe it was in middle school or very late grade school or something. I don't remember when. But I just remember we were in the hallway and the kids were going back into class. I think we were doing a class thing and the class was going back into the classroom. And I said, just randomly out loud, man, I'm thirsty. And this girl like just turns around and looks at me. She like gave me the stink eye and she was just like, swallow your spit. She said it mostly like that. It was just like, why? I was like so confused. I had no idea what to like retort to her. And it was just so weird. Like, I, I don't even know your name. Why are you attacking me? Yeah, that was weird. So that's another instance of like, oh, girls just want to bully me. Jesus. And then there was this other instance in middle school where I had split away from Marie at that time, but there was a mutual friend. Uh, uh, I don't know if they were friends at this point in middle school. I never saw them hanging out. I have no clue. I guess I minded my own business at that point. But so I had a crush on one of her friends, uh, one of her male friends, and I guess I just made it so blatantly obvious that I had a crush on this guy that uh, she got another one of her male friends, and they just both started making fun of me and teasing me, and I remember trying to ignore them, but it was just like, why are you attacking me? What have I done? What have I done to you? So, in any case, it's just instances like that where it's just like the majority of the bullying, I guess, um, it just came from girls. So I associated meanness, cruelty, bullying, all that from girls. And so why the hell would I want to be a girl if this is how I'm being treated and this is how they behave? What if I become one of them? You know, like, oh no, I gotta get out of here. Where's my ticket? If I can't be around girls, then I'm gonna try to be around boys. And I remember trying to make guy friends, but I just failed miserably. I don't know what method I was going for, but it just didn't work out. Once I found out transgenderism as a whole, like, I was like, oh, pretty much that's the ticket. That's my ticket into being friends with guys, getting away from all these past problems, and living life smoothly. That's what was going on in my subconscious. I guess I want to end this by saying, like, uh, for one, when it comes to your mom or your parents or just anybody who has wronged you, practice radical forgiveness. And even if they're still like actively hurting you right now, and or they're, or maybe this person's dead or something, whatever the context is, you have to forgive them, and it's not exactly for them, it's for you, because when you're still resenting somebody, you're holding on to the pain that they gave you. And forgiveness is taking that pain and just being like, you know what? This is yours. You keep it. That's what forgiveness is. Like for me, I took the pain that my parents gave me and said, hey, this is yours. It's not mine. I don't need it. You work it out. My relationship with my mom very much improved so greatly. That's my ultimate advice, really, just to get over some crap and some baggage in your life. And then last thing I want to mention is that I like this sort of one aspect of the feminist movement where nowadays, I think just the past couple years or so, maybe the decade, I don't know, I haven't been keeping track or anything, but this last couple years where women and uh, young and teenage girls are all getting onto this bandwagon of no longer are as many women being like, like toxic and bullying toward other women and judging them as relentlessly as they used to, and they're giving compliments instead, and they're just overall being nicer to women and more forgiving and more empathetic to what what she's experiencing in her life. And I really like that kindness that comes from this side of the movement. Anyway, that's what I enjoy. That's been really healing, and I hope people can keep it up because it's wonderful. So, yeah. For my next video, I have no idea when it's gonna be. I might get back onto the once a week thing, but yeah, I hope you got some good information from this video. I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.